stage upgrades. Are they really worth it? Let's talk about it inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. So in this video I'm talking about Harley Davidson motorcycles and whether you're going to change your engine performance, upstage it, stage 1, 2, 3 or 4. And what performance benefits you will gain from that, how much each one is likely to cost, and is it really worth it, and ultimately we'll be asking, should this be stock? Should this be already available on the bike? Right. So first of all, if you go to the parts catalogue on Harley Davidson, now this is the 2019 parts and accessories catalogue. You go to page 434, 435. It's got the Milwaukee 8 powertrain performance graphs, and it's all with the Screaming Eagle parts. Now, obviously, I'm only talking about Screaming Eagle Harley Davidson parts here. But obviously, if you're using different parts, let's say Vance and Hines, for example, whatever it is, if you're using a different tuner, all that kind of stuff, your performance graphs might be slightly different. But it's not going to be a huge difference from what it is here. You might get 1, 2, 3 horsepower difference, a few foot-pounds of torque difference, but essentially it's all going to be in the same ballpark. Right, so if we just talk about the 107 cubic inch engine, which I've got on my Harley Davidson Sport Glide, as you know, and from stock, that's the horsepower to the rear wheel. This is all corrected figures to the rear wheel. It's saying that it's about 75, 76 horsepower. If you do the stage 1 with the extreme AC and the cannons, 3 cannons, okay, stage 1, it's going to take it to about 83, 84. So we're looking at a region of about 8 horsepower difference, or gain, I should say, with the from stock to a stage 1. To a stage 2 with a torque cam, because you can either have a torque cam or a power cam. A torque cam, the heavy breather and street cannons. Stage 2, with that all on board, it's about 93, 94 horsepower. So from stock, you're talking about 19, 20 horsepower performance gain there. With this stage 2 on the 107 cubic inch here, with a horsepower cam and the extreme AC, with the street cannons as well, you're talking just under 100 horsepower, about a 99 horsepower. So 25 horsepower difference, something like that from stock. So if you really want your horsepower over your torque, that's the stage 2 to go for. That's the horsepower cam. Stage 3 with a heavy breather and street cannons, essentially you're going from 107 to 114 cubic inch. There, stage 3, you're talking in the region about 106 horsepower. So it's 106. So from, you know, we're talking about 30-ish horsepower difference. Then the stage 4, extreme AC and street cannons. That will take it up to 115, 116. So let's say 40 horsepower difference from stock to the stage 4. Now, interestingly, the maximum figure for horsepower with stage 4, it doesn't actually give this maximum horsepower with the stock, but you can see at the top of the graph here, it's saying about 78 horsepower stock, and that is at about 5,000 RPM. Maximum horsepower stage 4 is actually at 120 horsepower, and that comes in at 6,200, 6,150 RPM. So if you wring the neck off it, you're going to get 120 horsepower out of it. You know, look, that's up to you how you want to ride it, of course. Now, so there is definitely a performance gain. There's definitely a horsepower gain. Now, as I say, this is just for Screaming Eagle parts, but if you actually start putting I don't know, any other manufacturer's exhaust on there, air filter, tuner, whatever it is, there will be power fluctuations or horsepower fluctuations. It just will be, but there won't be dramatic variations from these figures. There will be, but not dramatic. Now, obviously, it really depends also what combination you use as well. There have been reports of people getting more horsepower out of a stage 2 with different variations, as opposed to going for a stage 4 with Harley Screaming Eagle parts. It's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? You've got to kind of know what every performance gain will give you, and it's pot luck really at the end of the day. The only way you're really going to know any of this, what accurate horsepower you're getting, what accurate foot-pounds of torque or newton meters of torque you're getting, is to actually put it on a dyno. Get it on a dyno tune, then you'll know exactly what is coming out your bike, get into the rear wheel, and also, you know, if you want to change something, put it onto the dyno, and then you'll know specifically exactly what performance gain you're going to get. Okay, so that is just for the horsepower. Let's talk about torque here, because this is quite interesting as well. So torque to the rear wheel, corrected to the rear wheel. For the standard engine, the 107 cubic inch engine here, we're talking at 5,500 RPM, we're talking at just over 72 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, so with the stage 1 with extreme AC and the cannons, you're talking 80 foot-pounds of torque, so 8 foot-pounds increase, okay? With a stage 2, the torque cam, with heavy breather and street cannons, it's taken it up to 88, something like that. So that's what, 16 foot-pounds of torque increase on the stage 2 torque cam. With the horsepower cam, extreme AC, and the street cannons as well, stage 2 with the horsepower cam, let's say the air cleaner, extreme air cleaner, it is 94, 95. So we're talking in the region about 22, yes, 22 foot-pounds of torque increase. Stage 3 with the heavy breather, street cannons, that's taken up to 100 foot-pounds of torque, so we're talking 27, 28 foot-pounds of torque. And then stage 4, again with the extreme air cleaner and street cannons, it's actually taken it up to 5,500 RPM, just about 109 foot-pounds of torque. So that is, that's, let's say 109, we're saying 37, yeah, 37-ish, something like that, foot-pounds of torque. There, let me just check that, 10, 20, 30, yeah, 37, 36, 37 foot-pounds of torque. Now, interestingly, that's not the top of the power curve on here. So those are just for 5,500 RPM. If we look at 5,000 RPM for stage 4, you're actually getting 113 foot-pounds of torque. As opposed to at 5,500, it's about 109. The stage 3 at 3,500 RPM, you're actually getting about 118 foot-pounds of torque. The stage 2 with the torque cam, you're actually getting 112, and the horsepower cam, yeah, you're getting a lot lower there. It's about 105, and the stage 1 about 103, something like that. Actually, just a little bit more than stock, which comes in at about 100, 101. You know, there isn't a great deal of difference actually at the lower revs, and obviously that's where you're going to notice the big difference between the torque cam and also the horsepower cam in the torque at the lower rev range. That's where you're really going to notice it. At the higher rev range, yes, it does step up, but not incrementally, and certainly not a stark contrast. They kind of even out as you get into the higher ranges there. But that's interesting there. So can you say that you are definitely getting a performance upgrade in horsepower and torque with the stage upgrades? Absolutely, yes. Right, now let's discuss how much each one is going to cost. So for a stage 1, it's going to cost in the region, but here in the UK I'm talking about, and again, it really depends on the variations that you have. It can cost £800 to £2,000. Let's say in the US or Canada, you know, that could be similar kind of figures, $2,500, $3,000, something like that. It depends where you go, obviously. But this is from a Harley dealership here. If we look at for a stage 2 upgrade, okay, so on top you're going to have about £1,250. Again, it really depends on what equipment you're using, what parts you're using, and everything like that. For a stage 3, for a stage 3, we're talking about £2,750 here, but you know, do the maths for the exchange rate, you're probably looking about $3,500, something like that. Depends where you are. Euros, about over 3,000 euros, I would have thought, something like that. And for a stage 4, we're talking £3,650. So we're talking what, $4,500, something like that, maybe a bit more, $4,500, whatever. So if you did it all at once, I'm sure you can condense those prices and, you know, get a bit. If you actually, you know, did each one as most people would do, because they can't afford to do it all at once, you're probably looking in the region of what's that? 2,000, 3,200, 5,000, 6,000, 6,000. 9,000, just shy of 10,000. That's a £10,000, maybe more in dollars, maybe more in euros, expense that you have to spend on your bike to do the performance upgrades. Now, I could talk about the 114 cubic inch engine, but essentially it follows the same kind of path to a certain degree. What I'll do, I'll make another video specifically for the 114, but this is just for the 107. Many people would say, shouldn't Harley actually have all of this already? Shouldn't you just have this on as a stock engine, all these performance upgrades? You could either have a variation. You can either go for a 107 cubic inch torque or 107 cubic inch horsepower. You know, you could still choose whichever you wanted, you know, from the manufacturer. The point is that Harley Davidson are not like that. They've never been like that. I don't see why many people are complaining about this, because it's not as if they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes here. They've always been like that. They've always sold you a base model, and then it's up to you to, you know, upgrade it. Now, many people would say, well, I could, you know, get a cheap sports bike and I got so much more horsepower and torque, you know, than that bike there, and it's going to cost me $5,000, pounds, whatever, where you're spending $20,000, $25,000 or pounds on a bike. Obviously, you know, those figures, it really depends which bike you're going to get and all that sort of stuff. But that's kind of irrelevant as well, because again, you're talking about different sorts of bikes. You know, if you started to try and do big performance upgrades on any engine, you're going to rack up the expenses. It's as simple as that. And you will only get small incremental performance upgrades or benefits, I should say, from anything that you do to an engine. You know, you really have to start spending big money to get big power differences, and that's where you're getting big power differences here for foot-pounds of torque and also in horsepower. You know, once you start going from compare stock to stage 4, you're talking your base level price plus another £10,000 on there. You're getting in the region of what, 30 odd horsepower difference. You're talking about 35, 40 foot-pounds of torque difference. So you're really talking from stock, you're talking about a 50% increase. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit generous there. A 40% increase in horsepower and torque for a $10,000 expense. If you try to do that on a car or on other motorcycles, let's say a sports bike, for example, you wouldn't be far off spending that amount of money. In fact, you're probably spending even more to get that same performance difference, that same performance gain. Is it worth it? That's a difficult one to say, isn't it? I mean, it really comes down to you. Let's face it, you know, Harley Davidsons aren't sports bikes. They're not designed to be ridden, you know, hard on a racetrack. You can ride any bike anywhere. You know me, I'll ride it anywhere. But is it fair to compare this to a sports bike? Of course it isn't. Is it fair to compare the performance from these engines, these M8 engines, or any Harley engine to any kind of other engine? No, it isn't, because they're different types of engine. I think you've just got to consider, is this performance gain worth it in your eyes? And that's all you can gauge it by, really. What does it mean to you? Do you think you're going to get the benefit? Is it worth spending this money at a Harley dealership, or going to whatever other mechanic so you can save the money, or do the work yourself? If you feel that you can do the work yourself and you're competent in that regard, you can save yourself quite a few $1,000s or pounds or whatever, or euros, whatever. You know, doing the work yourself. Of course you can. But at some point, you're only going to get certain performance gains, but it will step up or incrementally increase with each stage that you get. The biggest contrast is between the standard stock engine Aussie of the Stage 4. That's going to be your biggest one performance gain, but you'll definitely notice the differences as you start upstaging. You definitely will. There will be variations depending on the equipment that you use, but I don't think the figures are going to be drastically different. The only way, as I say, you're really going to know about the performance figures is to get it on a dyno, and then you'll be able to dyno tune it exactly to what you want out of the bike with the equipment you want, or the equipment that you already have on it. Anyway, it's a topic of discussion, at least. I mean, this, you know, we could spend hours and hours and hours. I don't even think I've covered this, you know, effectively, really, in just this video. But to say, I'll make another video about the 114 cubic inch at some point. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the value that you get out of upstaging your bikes, you start upstaging your engines, I should say, and the cost of it. You know, it is about value and cost. It is about benefit and cost. And at the end of the day, it's about the experience that you get on your bike, you know, from these upstaging. Now, I will also say, leave in the comments below if you don't care about any of this and you're completely happy with your stock engine, whatever it is, 107, 114, older, you know, engines, you know, that you got from Harley. Are you completely happy with them? You don't care about any performance upgrades? Let me know as well. That'd be interesting as well. Right, well, what can I say? Over to you. Let us know in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave those comments. Check out the website, RevelatorAlf.com. And I'll catch you on the next video very soon. Ta-da.
RevelatorAlf.